evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mahoning Drive-In Theatre, the largest single-screen drive-in in the United States. We're certainly glad you could be with us this evening, and don't forget the concession stand is open with all kinds of great things to eat and drink.
.3 Mahoning Drive-In Radio, your old friend Virgil back once again for another exciting episode of the podcast. As you guys know, the only podcast dedicated to the love and revival of our beloved drive-in culture. Joined as always by my co-hosts extraordinaire, General Manager Extreme, Mark. Say hello, my friend.
Extremely hello.
Owner, projectionist, king of the Mahoning Drive-In Theatre, Jeff. Say hello, my friend.
Yowzer.
Yowzer! Now you know what we sound like. We continue our owner-operator series this week, and we are so excited to have Paige from the Skyway Twin Drive-In Theatre in Warren, Ohio, which was established in 1949, the same year that the Mahoning Drive-In Theatre opened, so they are also celebrating their diamond anniversary. Two-screener that has quite the history, but the thing that I really love is Brian, the father, is running it with his daughter, Paige. Welcome to the show, Paige DeCiancio.
Hi, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, we are so excited to have you. We do like a deep dive on the drive-ins before we talk to the owners or the operators. And the reason I love the drive-in culture, there's something unique about every single drive-in theater. There's something about it that makes it their own. It's got their own knack, you know, and yours has so much going for it. What a beautiful place.
Thank you so much for saying that. It is definitely, it has to be one of the most unique drive-ins out there. And I mean, we're all unique in our own ways. And just the fact that we're still here, but ours, I don't know. I mean, of course, you know, I've got the little voice in my head that's like, we're the best, which obviously we're not. But we have laser tag on site. There is no other drive-in in the world that has a laser tag system on site. And that is just so cool to me. We got
so excited. And when we say laser tag, you guys might be thinking, oh, that's fun, like a little backyard type of thing. No, this is like extreme laser tag with some serious square footage. Really excited to get to all that stuff, but let's start at the beginning. Family owned and operated, you and your father. When did you guys come into the Skyway, and how did that all happen?
So my dad had movie theaters for years, and actually I asked him, I was like, well, like, why did you get into this industry? Like, I don't understand. And he's like, well, my friend and I were just kind of trying to like find something to make money, basically. And so him and his friend like were business partners for quite some time, and they had, I believe, 3 theaters before I was born. And I actually took some of my first steps in one of their indoor theaters. So yeah, so like that's really cool. So they had those theaters together, and then he opened up a laser tag and arcade. And unfortunately that closed in, I think, 2000. And he opened it, you know, it's really sad because like he opened it for my generation because he wanted us to have somewhere fun to go, that we weren't, you know, getting into mischief, just like somewhere where kids could go after school. And we had a lot of
community space.
Yeah. So we had like a lot of homeless teenagers and those shelter groups and things come, and they would like sponsor parties and things, and they would go there, and it was just so amazing for them. And so unfortunately that closed just because it wasn't doing as well as it should have. And then as soon as that closed, I remember him telling me the day that it closed, and I just bawled my eyes out because I was there. I was there with all the employees. I was there every single day with him after work. He worked long hours. My mom was a banker. And so I was there with him all the time. And it just devastated me to hear that I wasn't going to be with basically my brothers and sisters anymore. I'm an only child. So like, those kids were my family, and it was just heart-wrenching. Like, it was awful.
And to see your father put his heart into all that, too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, nothing was ever for money. It was, like, once he got into it, it was always, oh my gosh, like, I just love this. Nothing's ever for money. And especially if you have a drive-in, it's not for the money. You love what you're doing. You love movies. You love the people, all of that. It's never for the money.
Absolutely.
So when he told me that that was closing, I was just devastated. And he's like, but it's going to be okay because we're taking over this outdoor theater. And at that time, I was like 4 years old. Like, I didn't really know, or I was 6. So I'm like, okay, that's cool, but it's not what I know. So like, I was still upset. And then once we took that over and the kids from the laser tag and the arcade came over and they were still working with us, still hanging out with us, like, that was so amazing to me. And to this day, I'm now 27. To this day, those people still come around. They still come to play laser tag on Skyway's property at our arena. They still hang out with us. They still come over to watch movies and grab food and just hang out. They talk to us. They come to our Christmas parties. Like, that was just the whole,
family was born at the laser tag.
Things were terrible for a minute, but like everything that came out of it, like those are my siblings. Like, I was an only child for a reason and I was okay with that, but like those I consider my brothers and sisters, and like that was just such an amazing thing to me.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Now, what was the situation? Did it happen to just be for sale, perfect timing around 2002 when
I think so, yes.
Really?
Yes, I do believe so. And the guy that previously owned it, his name was also Brian, shockingly. He lived right down the street. And I'm not sure, his reason for selling it. I think, a drive-in takes a special person. Like, it's just, it's so much. There's so much that goes into it. There's so much heart and soul and so much of your time and money and effort. And I think that that's what a lot of people lack to understand, like even customers and stuff. Like, you're out there daily to mow the grass, to make sure that everything is up and running as good as it possibly can be, for the weekend, even if it's just a weekend, whatever. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that when they get into the industry. So they're like, screw this, I'm going to sell. So I think that might have been what happened.
Where they lose that stamina. It's a hard thing to keep up when you get.
It's a lot. And I mean, even if you have a family and stuff, and my dad, it was me, him, and my mom. And, she worked at a bank. And so she worked until like 5 or whatever. She'd come home, make dinner. I was in like kindergarten. He'd come pick me up and I would go stay with him at laser tag. But he worked so many hours. I think it kind of can destroy families. And there's a lot of drive-ins out there where the kids absolutely hate it. They will not take over. They can't stand it. And my parents were fortunate enough to have such an amazing child that I ended up loving it. And so, like, through the disgustingness, through the annoyances, through the crying, the pain, whatever, I still love what I do. And I honestly, like, they're very fortunate that I do like that. And they tell me that all the time. And even though they're not together anymore, I mean, my dad, like, him and me are just like one and the same. And so we're both very fortunate to have each other to be able to, bounce back off each other and be like, we should do this, or can you help me with that, or whatever. A drive-in is a lot of work and people don't understand that.
Yeah, it definitely takes an army, and
absolutely
that support system is no joke when you're talking about the pressure and the hours and everything else that goes into it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So destined as far as it being for sale. When you guys came in, it was a single screener. Do you know anything about the history of it before you guys got there?
It was a single screen. So it was built in 1949 and the screen came down twice. Okay. So when it was just the one screen, it came down twice. And I think that was like in the same year or only like a year apart.
They're like, damn it.
Yeah,
again?
I know, right? But wait till I get to the end of the story. So they rebuilt it, and it's a very sound structure for sure. Because there have been many times where we're like, "Oh my gosh, it's storming. We got to go sit out there and make sure everything is okay." But they built it very sound the third time, I guess. And I can't give you the dates on that. I'm sorry. But they did rebuild it a couple times. So we took over in 2002. And then I think in 2010, somewhere around there, 2010, 2014, we put up the second screen. So that was up, I think, for one season. And as drive-in owners, something's always kind of going to go wrong on your first opening night. I think there's been 3 opening nights where one major
Some
catastrophe did not happen. Did not happen. The grill caught on fire the one year. The pop machine was spewing pop everywhere the one year. You know, it's just stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was like literally, I think 2 years, if that, after we put the second screen up, it blew over on opening night. It blew down.
On opening night.
Kid you not, on opening night. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. See, these are things that we should have documented. I should have had like Google Docs open. Like, oh my gosh. But
that is fantastic. Talk about starting off with a hurdle.
Oh my gosh, you're telling me. So my mom and I, because my dad is a very last minute person. So when we're opening, we're getting ready like 3 to 5 days before we're opening. Okay. And it's ridiculous. It's a little bit ridiculous, but he does not function well if he's not under pressure. So this is what we have to do. So when that happens on opening night, me and her just, you can imagine our faces. We just look at each other and we're like, are you fucking serious? Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, did this really just happen right now?
Where's the camera? Who's pranking us?
Exactly. Right? I'm waiting for Ashton Kutcher to come out on Punch. Like, what? But, you know, something always happens. But we did, you know, we got the second screen up. It has been up and it looks great. And we, again, even with that, you know, the people in our lives are just so amazing. Like, he has some of the best friends in the world. Like, they came out, they went out and sought out telephone poles to put this screen on.
Wow.
And it doesn't look terrible. Like, the screen 2 is right in front of like a wooded area, so it kind of blends in. It looks natural, honestly.
Yeah.
But his friends are the ones that come out and help him and do all this stuff. He's not hiring people, and he himself is just such an amazing person. And I wish I would have paid more attention to him when I was younger, because he knows how to do everything. The only thing that I can say is he hates plumbing. But he can still fix things.
But he'll do it.
He will do it. But I mean, he knows everything. And it just blows my mind. Like, how do you know all of this? But him and his friends are just the best people. They will help you out in a pinch. I mean, his friends will come there to watch a movie. And if we're busy, they'll be like, hey, Paige, can I help you with something? Like, can I jump behind the counter and, you know, serve some popcorn or whatever? Yeah. They're just the best.
It takes that support, you know, and I think having the drive-in in any area, people really do, the ones that respect and love it, they really do learn to take it into their heart and respect the fact that it is a community space and what it means to the community to have that, and how rare that is anymore to have that available to them.
Right. The thing that kind of stinks is that we have one pretty close to us. So I feel like people kind of around us, they think that it's, you know, more common than it actually is. But
what's that, another drive-in?
Yeah, 5 miles away.
Wow. Right.
Literally 5 miles.
Yeah, we have one about 20 minutes away, and then another one about 40 minutes away. So we're about all 20 minutes apart. That's about right. So we feel that, you know, we really do. And I take it, you know, not to put any words, but I take it there are things that are unique between the two of yous that you offer. I mean, I guess that's the perfect segue. Are there challenges with having another drive-in as kind of direct competition? I take it their first run and showing the same movies you guys would be.
Oh, yes, 100%. When we first took over, we were kind of like the little guy. And I mean, we're off the beaten path, but like not really, if you know what I'm saying. Like literally 3 seconds down the road, there's the gas station. There's a whole town, a whole city. We're located right by housing and stuff like that. But people forget that we're open, and it's always been like that since 1949. It's always been like that. But this other drive-in is on the main drag.
In kind of the same boat as we are in a lot of ways. There's beauty in being the underdog. There really is.
Exactly.
And
you're right.
I think, you know, if you guys just lead with your heart and do what you love to do, it's just naturally there's going to be competition with any movie house in the town. It's all going and feeding the same area. But, you know, with drive-ins, it really is a situation where, especially with this owner-operator series, any drive-in that's open is a beautiful thing, and especially because there's so many circumstances that, you know, different places go through or are in The worst is when we see the news of a drive-in having to close because, like you said, a family member doesn't want to take it over, doesn't have the gusto to continue running it, whatever the case may be. And people start ganging up on that. It's like, look, you don't know anybody's circumstance anywhere, And it's very hard to kind of look beyond that. But the beautiful thing with drive-ins, and I'm sure you feel this, it feels like you're in your own private bubble, where
Yep, absolutely.
What world exists beyond our tree line? I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't really care, And that's a good mentality to be in when you have some competition around,
Yeah, there's definitely a family feel and atmosphere and whatnot, I'm sure, at any drive-in. And I'm sure everybody has regulars, and especially after working, the two of our indoors that we had, you see your regulars and you see the people that really care about you and support you and whatever. And everybody has that. And that is just such an amazing thing. And it makes you feel like such a part of the community and like people really care.
Absolutely. And it is one of those things that we can certainly relate to blending in to the environment. The locals, Jeff put it perfectly. People that live by the Empire State Building, they're not wowed by the Empire State Building. It just is there,
Right.
And people forget over time the majesty of some of these movie houses, whether indoor or outdoor. And we've been lucky to be able to make a big enough stir to have people pay attention to what we're doing and find us. And this day and age, there's so many different ways to do that. And between social media, it's just a different world than it was even 10 years ago,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. With the Empire State Building, that's what I'm saying, like about having the two drive-ins so close, like for us.
Yeah.
I think people don't think that it's such a unique experience, or they don't realize that there's only less than 300 at this point left in the world. I think they don't understand that. And regardless of the fact, because we have two indoor theater. Well, we had one indoor theater now. We had to close one of our other ones because of COVID. But I think that people don't understand that you're just sitting at home watching movies. But regardless of the fact, like going to a drive-in, that's an entire experience. Like that's a whole date night. That's a whole thing. Like, oh yeah, we can go to a movie theater and watch a movie for an hour and a half, like whatever. But like going to the drive-in, it's more than that. And I think that people don't understand, or they undervalue that.
Yeah. And honestly, it never goes out of style once people reconnect with it.
Right.
But it's the constant ease, for people. And the way I liken it to an indoor, and again, nothing against somebody who's currently running an indoor as well. It's like renting a seat. It becomes impersonal, where the drive-in is just the most outstandingly communal experience you can have with your family or your neighbor that you don't even know,
Right.
So it's a really beautiful thing what you guys are doing, preserving the drive-in. So I'm curious, what was there when you guys came in? You guys have a beautiful, iconic marquee that I'm so jealous of. It's gorgeous. Was that there and standing when you came in?
Oh my gosh, yeah, and it's barely standing now.
Yeah,
we're looking to make some money so that we can repurpose it. But the arch of the Skyway, the letters, that's going to stay for sure. But it'll probably, once we get the money and we can do everything, it'll just turn to like an LED type of sign. But I definitely want to keep those letters. And he's not going to tell me otherwise. So it's going to stay like that with those letters at least. But I do love our marquee. I love it so much. It's just getting very tedious with that little building underneath of it. And every time we get like a huge windstorm, the letters tend to, go to one side or the other.
Yeah.
It's getting pretty bad. I mean, you got to consider the fact that it's been there since, we'll say 1970. I don't know, because nobody knows apparently. So it says circa 1960, whatever. So we'll say 1970. So it's been there for a long time. But I definitely want to keep the Skyway arch. And in honor of our diamond year, we're getting new shirts for everybody, for our employees, and also to sell. So we're going to change the square letters that say Skyway to diamonds. And then we're going to have little like stars and stuff on it. It's going to be super cute.
That's so cool.
I posted a picture on our Facebook page if you want to check that out. It looks really cute. It's going to be awesome. But I definitely love just the arch of that. And it does look so nostalgic. It just gets to a point because you have to get up there yourself. Like personally on a ladder, I have to every week and walk the catwalk literally. And you feel it shift on each side. So like when you walk to the other side, you like feel it shifting. So it gets a little bit scary. So
Boy,
I don't think she's going to be up there for too much longer, but we're going to try our best to keep it as nostalgic as possible for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those images where right away you could tell like, oh, this is perfect for a t-shirt and branding. And for us, it's the same thing. Our marquee has definitely become a big part of our branding. So why don't you guys paint a picture a little bit? When somebody pulls onto the lot, is the marquee out by the roadway and they got to drive a ways in? How's the whole setup like?
We're actually thinking about moving our box office because it needs redone. And my grandpa, bless his heart, he is the handyman. He is the reason that my dad knows as much as he does, but he helped him like rebuild the box office and do the roof and stuff. The roof is ridiculously large. Okay. It's ridiculous. So we're we're thinking about moving that. And because they used to have 3 or 4 driving lanes to get into the theater, that's just not necessary now. So like 2 would be appropriate. So we're thinking about moving it over to the left side, which is where the exit gate is. That's where people go in for like laser tag parties and stuff, like if the drive-in's not open, whatever. So we're thinking about just putting it over there and just kind of reshifting the lot, if you will, and kind of cutting off that whole right side. I don't know when that will happen. It just depends, when my dad has motivation, which no one ever knows. But we do have some kind of thought process, at least as to what we're going to do. If anything, does happen. I think that's what it will take, though, if like something does happen, because honestly, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's that old saying. And nothing's broke right now. Everything's kind of okay. It's not working. A big deal. And we aren't really getting, we get lined up down the road kind of, but in the area that we're in, yes, there's like traffic and housing and things like that, but it doesn't affect anyone. Whereas like a drive-in on the main drag really would. So it's not that big of a deal.
Totally.
So for this season, we'll keep it as is. But if we do change things, we'll shift everything to the left and just keep the 2 in lanes. Whereas right now we have 3 or 4.
Yeah. We know running a 1949 drive-in, a lot goes into working with what you got and doing these upgrades as you can, and repairs as you can. With the 2 screens, I take it single concession stand, shared concession stand, or do you guys have multiple?
So we have single. However, when we did the Zach Williams concert back in 2020, like when COVID was happening. Yeah, so we had his concert, and oh my gosh, that was such an amazing turnout. That was so fun. We had 2 concerts that year, actually, and we ended up opening up a second stand in our laser tag building
of course,
because we were going to be so busy, but they were just doing like, pieces of pizza, drinks, and pretzels. They were just doing like simple stuff because we don't have fries or anything over there.
Standards,
so that worked out amazingly. But as of right now, we just have the 1 stand and we try and push through as best we can. And I'm the fry gal. So I'm always working the fryers and working with our employees. Yep. It's just the best. And, even in those tough times where you're like super irritated, like, and things are just going crazy, you have so many people, you have so many orders, whatever, we can still joke around with each other. And like, you can call each other stupid. And then afterwards you're just like, I love you so much. Like, it's fine.
The camaraderie in the stand. It's a special thing.
With just the single stand right now.
Yeah, Jeff calls a lot of the atmosphere like a high school in many ways.
It is.
I liken it to summer camp or being in a band, where it very much is everybody all for one doing their thing that they're good at, kind of pushing. I grew up in the theater as well, so it very much reminds me of a production. Everybody's in their own zone, focusing on their thing to put on a show,
Thankfully, we are just I can't be more grateful for our employees. I just really can't. We're just all such genuine people. Like, we are friends outside of work, So when you're at work, like, you got to do what you got to do, but you can still laugh and joke around and be stupid with each other and have fun.
Yeah.
But you're still doing your job. And then you can talk outside of work. Like, we have a group chat that we talk in almost weekly. I mean, if not daily. Like, we just all love each other that much. And even our we got two new people last season, and they are just as much of the family as the kid that's been with us for 11 years. You know, like, we're just all such a big family.
Yeah. So curious about the projection system. So you guys came in 2002. You were still running 35 millimeter.
Yep.
And then you added another screen. So you had to upgrade to digital on both screens. What was that whole process like for you, or stress like for you?
So pretty much by 2012-ish, everybody was forced to go digital or you're closing, basically.
Yeah.
So I remember, like, when I was younger and they still had the film projectors. Unfortunately, I never learned how to run one, but I remember the brain wraps and all the chaos that would go on. I would walk into the projection booth because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's fire on the screen. There's fire on the screen. So I walk in the projection booth. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there was just a brain wrap? Like, what? So they're in there, you know, trying to get the film together. And it just seems so much easier to go to digital. So when we switched over, I would assume it's 2012 because that's when we took over our other indoor theater. And that's when most people had to change.
Yeah.
So we did that. And, you know, anything with technology, it's like I tell people when we have issues at the theater, I always post on our page, like, I'm so sorry, but it's just the same as you having technology issues at home. Like, it's the same thing, because it's not, you know, something that you can just like put back together real quick.
Yeah.
It's something that you have to manually like fix, like through the server, through internet, through, you know, like whatever. Like, you're not gonna sit at home without internet and fix it yourself. We are trying to fix it ourselves with our servers, our projectors, you know, whatever the issue may be.
Yeah.
So in many ways, film was a lot easier, I think, but in other ways, digital is also easier. It's just battle it out. Basically, it's 50-50, like, because digital, we have issues all the time. I've got 3 projectors down currently right now at our 8-house indoor. So it's a lot, both of them. I'm not sure which one would be better. My best friend, the only person that I let my dad hire, actually was the last person that worked for us to learn how to run a film projector. And that was because we had 2 houses that are indoor left that were still film and the rest were digital, while we were trying to, you know, scrape up some money to be able to convert the other 2. So it's just, they're both just a lot. Film was definitely cooler in my opinion, but digital is also really cool. Like, oh, I can just drag and drop a show, but it also depends on what server you have and, you know, whatever, because I've seen the 3 servers and 2 of them are garbage and I love the other one, so it just kind of depends.
Yeah, it's a juggle, and it's a learning curve too, because
Absolutely.
you know, it got very much thrust upon people who didn't know how to run these things, and now it's become an industry standard. It's a very unique industry to be in, where, you know, all of a sudden things can just up and turn and change. But that's the one kind of through line with doing these owner operators series as well, is the people that are able to pivot and, you know, work through these changes or jump those hurdles with ease are the ones that are still around, you know?
Right. Yeah.
The things that we deal with streaming and, you know, release windows and things like that is the same thing that, you know, previous owners dealt with, you know, cable and mom and pop video stores and released it. It's a different thorn in the side, you know?
Yeah, and thankfully, I mean, like I've already said, my dad's very smart, especially like with technology, so he can fix most projector issues. But I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I gotta call him. Like, if I'm by myself, like, what am I supposed to do? Like,
Yeah. So, do you guys have everything single floor? Do you have the projection up on second floor? What's kind of the layout of your concession stand?
so the concession stand actually was very low. It used to only be probably, I would say, 5.5 feet. Like you used to have to tell people, hey, duck your head. You're going to hit your head, duck your head. And so we raised that, and we also created an upper level projection booth. So before, screen 1 and screen 2 projector were in 2 separate rooms. So in our stock room right now is where screen 2 projector was, and then screen 1 was just in the basement floor. So we actually created like a whole upper level where 1 and 2 can both be, and we raised the concession stand so we don't have to worry about anything like that.
Smart.
Yeah.
It seemed like you guys do have a good amount of space. You have tables in your concession stand.
Yeah.
Is it a corral system, or do you guys have like a walk up and order system?
So through COVID, we actually had like a window where you could look outside to watch screen 1, and there was a table right there. Yeah. So during COVID, we had to convert that window to like just basically a window that you would have in your house, like just a walk-up window. Yeah.
Right,
So we could serve food through it. And so that's still there. But normally we would do like a cafeteria kind of style. And actually, when we first took over, we would have like burgers and hot dogs and stuff in like a warmer, and they would just like pull them out. But yeah, so that's what we used to do. But now we're trying to make things as fresh as possible and as good as possible. So we've added like extra toppings and things. So when they come through the stand, the popcorn and the nachos are self-serve. You just get your own butter, and then you bring the nacho sauce if you want cheese sauce, sour cream, olives, whatever. And then all of the hamburgers, hot dogs, and fried foods you order at a separate register. So we make that behind the stand. And then like with the burgers, we added the lettuce, tomato, onions, pickles, all of that. So people have really enjoyed us adding that. And I would never go back to the self-serve warmer.
Yeah, I think there's pluses and minuses to it. And it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Again, every drive-in's unique. For us, we do have the self-serve corral line. The plus is that people will grab their tray and just start stacking burgers. You know, they're not even.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure you're busier than we are, so it's much easier for you. But like, if we were busier, it'd be more difficult for us to make all those sandwiches. You know.
And it does. It has that workflow, what works for you thing as well.
Yeah.
What's the breakup on your lot as far as capacity for one screen versus the other?
Oh boy. See, that's another him question. I
Is it about even in half, or?
No, I don't think it's half. I think it's about close to 300 on one, maybe, and like 200 on two. I mean, when you're looking at it, yeah, it is pretty close, but we're never that busy, especially with another drive-in a couple minutes down the road.
Yeah. What do you guys traditionally program? What does really well for you? Is it the family fare? Or do you try to go off the cuff sometimes with competition?
It's kind of interesting because having indoors versus the drive-in, the family movies at the indoors will hold life forever. Forever. At the drive-in,
I know it. I got a little munchkin. You got it. You got it.
Yeah. Like at the drive-in, they'll do okay, their first week or two or whatever, which is fine. But it's just nothing compared to the indoors. So typically we're like PG-13-ish is the best. We also do get a really good crowd for the R's and the horrors and all that.
Heck yeah.
So it's very interesting to have, an indoor and an outdoor to see the difference between the two.
Yeah, you really get best of both worlds. And
absolutely.
When I came in and partnered with Jeff in 2014, off of his advice, I started working at the big indoor chains to get a flavor for just what it's like to be in that environment versus kind of what we're doing. And God, was it informative, even if it was informative to, hey, I don't want to do this,
right.
But you're in a unique boat because you get, the ownership over both and can kind of see how and what works behind the scenes versus what's kind of given to you from up top.
Yeah, it's very interesting, but it's also very confusing. It's like, this one's gonna be amazing over here. Oh wait, were we talking about that one?
Yep, a learning curve. And I'm very impressed, because as you mentioned, you are very young. I think the youngest owner operator that we've talked to in this series. And I am really big on the familial atmosphere at the drive-in. And when you
Mm-hmm.
can have literally your family there working behind the scenes and trying to make the magic happen, it adds another level of investment, I guess, into it for you guys. Do you feel that love with both the indoor and the outdoor?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I the indoor that we currently have, I would have given up probably in a heartbeat back in the day, because this was not like my home theater. It's like half an hour from me, which isn't a big deal, but my home theater was like 5 minutes from me and I lived there. Like, I just went to the store the other day and they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're the girl from the movies. Like, I'm so sorry that closed, like, just because of COVID." And
It
it
was
broke my
so a party.
heart, when we had to
Yeah.
close that. But just everything else is keeping me going so much. And Skyway has always been number one. That has always been my top priority. Like, bury me there. Like, that is my place. Um,
Yeah.
but like, it's not even just like the customers are so amazing, but it is just the family that we create and the employees that we have. Like, they're just the greatest people. And we are so fortunate and so lucky. And I don't know how we find these people, but we're so fortunate to have them and to have them continue coming back and to continue loving us. And, I talked to my employees all throughout the down season this year, and nothing changed. Like, they all just love us, love each other. Like, nothing ever changes. And that's just the greatest thing to me.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Going back to some of the staples of or things that make you guys unique, I see you have the playground. Anything else on the lot that kind of you would say, hey, this is fun, this is stand out?
The playground definitely needs some work, but
They
I
always do. That's half the fun.
it definitely does. I'm sure everything's been there since it was created, except for the merry-go-round that we had taken out. But besides that, the laser tag, of course, always sets us apart from anybody, because laser tag is unique in and of itself, but to
Yeah.
be a part of a drive-in, that's crazy.
So tell me about how this all came to be. So you guys come in, obviously the laser tag's not there. Is the humongous building there?
Yes. So the building used to be a flea market,
Yeah.
and they also had a big roller coaster in there, and they would have this like huge October like horror fest type situation.
Ah,
And
that's
yeah,
awesome.
so that was very popular. And even with that being popular, Skyway still was not. So that's also kind of strange to me because, like I said, we really aren't off the beaten path like that. So
Yeah.
for the
It's
roller
like right
coaster
there.
and and everybody to like remember that, but not the drive-in, like that's kind of weird. But the building
Yeah.
was there. They did the flea market. We closed that in 2004. It was kind of disgusting and just annoying at that point. So we closed the flea market. And then my dad's friend, who he met through Jesters, which is our old place where he had open laser tag in 1996,
Yeah.
he ended up taking over the laser tag portion. And I actually still work parties for him and stuff. I still do laser
Nice.
tag parties and all that. He is just constantly expanding and making the place as best as it can be. And I just love him for that because he is doing his best. He has his own business, but he's also doing the laser tag. His kids are involved. And so the laser tag grew basically just from the flea market. We had kind of an empty space in the building, and he was like, "Well, I'll do this." He had some of the old packs from Jesters in 1996. He still
Yes.
has some,
Yeah,
he
that's what
still
I was
has
thinking. It was
some.
probably the perfect crossover.
Yes, it's amazing. And they have tournaments and things where people from all over the states, they will come to play these tournaments
Yeah,
and just hang out with their friends, for the weekend or whatever. It's usually only like a couple day thing. And I always work those tournaments because I love seeing my people. And
totally.
they are like, "Oh my gosh, I've watched you like grown up, whatever." And I'm like, "I've seen you grow up too. You have children now." Like, so it's a very cool thing, and he has gotten so many parties booked and whatnot every single weekend. I'm just very proud of the entire way that laser tag has come, because it used to just be like a couple open hour plays, like
Yeah,
$3 a game, like on the weekend. Now he's constantly booked, so that's
like a
amazing.
full-blown thing. And how rewarding for your pops too, to
Absolutely. Yeah.
now have the thriving thing that he was pushing for that he had to let go of. come full
Right.
circle.
And I mean, he's not part of that. He claims that he's over that, whatever. He'll never play laser tag again. We'll see. But that's what he claims.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Just I didn't want that to die, and I'm so glad that it's not going to. And for his friend to have taken that over, and for me to still be able to be a part of that, and to see my people and even his friends' children being the great players that they are. It's crazy. I believe that they will take that over themselves. So I have very much hope for that. So it's very cool.
Gosh, these interviews are so refreshing, knowing that these theaters are in such loving hands and the next generation is so inspired by it and has their heart and soul so put into it. And for you, I mean, it's literally in your blood. You took your first steps in the theater. You grew up, at a theater. It's just, nothing else.
Right. And I think that is what turns like some people off is, like this has been my whole life. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Whatever. I love it. Yeah. I would not change it for anything.
Yeah. The thing I was going to say is the old saying is it doesn't feel like work if you love it,
Mm-hmm.
But there's another added element when you're doing it with your friends and the people that you love.
Yeah.
What a treat. What a reward, what a life.
Yeah. And I think that's how we all feel, my employees included. That's just how we all feel. Like we're at work, part of the time, like when it's busy, but the other half of the time we're just joking around and you're hanging out with your friends. Like you're just having a good time. And it doesn't matter, if you're 10 years younger, like we're just having fun. We're having a good time. We love each other. That's just how it is. And that's amazing.
We're in the memory making business, baby. That's what we
do.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, I don't want to take up all your time. I want to let the guys ask some questions as well. But God, you are such an inspiring mouthpiece for the theater, which I think that's a big thing as well, and I don't know what the situation is with the other theaters around you, but having somebody that can really shine and seeing an interview with you as well inside of your concession stand, it was clear, it's like this girl loves this place, is so invested in this place, and having a spokeswoman like you, your pops is very lucky.
Well, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, you don't even know how much that means. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Jeff, you got anything for Paige?
You guys did pretty good. Virgil, you did pretty good getting all my questions in. I was just curious, what's your normal season? You run when to when?
So this is actually the earliest that we've opened this year, and last year was the latest that we've closed. So normally it's like mid-April to end of August or early September.
Yeah.
But last year we opened through the end of October because we had our Sinister Horror Fest. And then this year we opened up early because the weather was nice, only for it to be terrible on opening weekend and the weekends after. But we opened early. So we opened end of March, the 22nd. And we plan to run at least through the first weekend of October because of our Horror Fest again. But I don't know, maybe that'll be the future of our seasons. We'll be opening earlier and closing later. I don't know. We'll have to see. The weather in Ohio is just very unpredictable.
Oh, it is in our part of Pennsylvania too. We opened the last weekend in April, so we've got about 3 weeks to go yet. And even at the end of April, there can be some nasty cold nights.
April. Yeah, we were all up in there in our hoodies and our long socks and all that. We don't have heat in the concession stand, but we have AC, but we don't have heat yet.
And then I can remember, and we're open until through the last weekend in October. So I can remember 1 October, it was the second last night. It was a Saturday night, and then Sunday night would have been our last. Saturday night, I remember it was freezing cold. I mean, it was nasty. And I'm thinking, well, that's how this year's going to wrap up. And then our last night, Sunday night, the very last night, you were out in short sleeves. It was warm.
Isn't that always how it goes? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. It is. It's nuts. Yeah, you just can't predict Pennsylvania weather, and obviously Ohio either.
Right. Well, I always said, I was like, well, the guy that contacted us for the Sinister Horror Fest, I had never really met him before. Now he's amazing. We're on our second one this year, and he's just the best. But I'm like, we always regret closing when we close because the weather, like the 2 weekends after, is beautiful.
Always.
So I'm like, we're not doing that again. I don't care. And then this guy contacted us, but it's not so ridiculous. Like, no matter what time you choose to open or close, it's vice versa. It doesn't matter.
You're exactly right. It sure seems like that anyway. And the only other thing I was curious, I found out with a lot of the other drive-ins, your original projection booth for the main screen, is that just storage now?
Yes, actually. Yeah, it's completely storage down on the bottom. So we have some stairs going upstairs, and downstairs we have just cups. We actually have some old film reels and splices and, things like that we'll never get rid of. But it is mostly just storage for random crap, basically. Ladders, extension cords, cups, just things that we can't fit in the building. Yeah.
Exactly, because the digital projectors, they have to be heated, they have to be cooled.
Yep.
And if you do that in the original booth, that would be so horribly expensive.
Yeah, no, we just do that upstairs, and we go out and check them every week or so and turn them back on, and then it is heated and cooled upstairs. Yep.
That's about all I have. Mark, what about you?
Oh, I have a laundry list.
Oh, goodness.
Socks.
All right, well,
shirts,
get out the
pants.
Get out the tie.
Sorry. It's random.
$45.
Thank you. That's very reasonable. So, first of all, tell us more about the Sinister Horror Fest, because horror is like our bread and butter at the Mahoning. That's what's always been the most dependable genre for us, and we do all kinds of Zombie Fest and Universal Monsters and all this kind of stuff. What so far has Sinister Horror Fest been for you?
So our first one was last year, and I am a huge horror fanatic, and this guy just like kind of randomly reached out to us. And when someone reaches out to you for something like that, or just anything in general, you're kind of like skeptical.
Oh yeah.
This guy is amazing. He has his own like t-shirt brand. He set everything up. He had a whole list of movies that was like, contact your booker, like let us know if you can do this or this. So he had the whole entire weekend planned out. I think we had like 20 vendors, and then we had laser tag open and the concession stand. So that was the last Friday and Saturday of October last year. And he also had pumpkin carving. And then when we kind of had like a little bit of break in the concession stand, I was like, where is everyone at? And I'm like, well, I'm just going to go check out the vendors. I end up buying a whole bunch of stuff,
Yeah.
So I'm out there.
I joke with our staff, we have a lot of vendor events, and they'll walk out and I'll say, you want me to hold on to your wallet for you? And then they'll come back and I'll say, how much of this week's pay did you just spend out there?
Right. Yeah. So I'm out there looking at everybody. Oh my gosh. All the vendors were so friendly. They were so sweet. And then I'm like, but where are all the people? So I go over, they're all at laser tag. Like they were fully booked for hours. Like it was crazy. So everybody's going to laser tag, but everybody also was shopping, and they were carving pumpkins, and we had people. So they're staying for the movies, obviously. So they're setting up their carved pumpkins, like in the back of their like truck beds and stuff. Like it was the cutest thing. It was so much fun. Like it was such a great weekend, even though it was like kind of chilly. So we're hoping this year we'll do a little bit better for trunk or treat, which we have never done before. And that was our first time kind of experimenting with it. So we're hoping to get a little better with that this time. He did also include a kids screen this year, which we did not do last year. We're doing Monster House and Little Monsters.
Oh, man,
for the kids.
come on.
Yeah, for the kids screen.
Nice.
But he likes to bring back a lot of like horror cult classics. Basically, he doesn't want the typical like horror crowd, and I kind of don't really either. So we want to kind of like stay back to like 70s, 80s, like horror stuff like that. And then he also advertises on his page to get independent filmmakers. So we had triple features on every screen every night. So there was the 2 classic horror movies and then one of the independent movies every night. And oh my gosh, people were just so obsessed. And one of the guys, the directors of one of the horror movies, he was just standing outside the whole time. And people were like clapping after his movie. It was just this like cringy 80s horror. It's called Mosquito, if you want to look it up. It was just this like cringy 80s horror, whatever. And he was describing how he filmed every scene. And it was so cool. And people loved it so much. It was the coolest thing. So I'm really excited for this year.
That's the kind of thing. Our whole deal is stuff like that, and we have found that it just grows and grows over time because more people find out about it, and each year more people can make it out to it. So I think if you stick with that, you're probably going to see major success because horror fans are so passionate, and we know they will travel to go to an event like this, do something in an area where nobody else does that sort of thing. It is you will be revered because most of the time you have to go to the big city to find that, or to New York or LA or whatever. But when you do it in an area where people are not having to fly across the country to get that kind of action, people really appreciate that. And we found horror fans to be the nicest, despite people who are dedicated to watching other people be murdered on screen. They are the nicest, most generous, wonderful people you could meet. So that's really cool to hear that.
That's what I'm thinking too. And that is really funny because everybody's always judged like on appearances or whatever. And you have people with all the tattoos and stuff everywhere, which I'm obviously not against, but that you make up your mind about certain people, and they do tend to be some of the sweetest people. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I absolutely love that. And that's what he's going for. And I am definitely going for having people drive, and they do. And so he posted in like January this new Sinister Horror Fest page for 2024. We've already got like 500-600 followers. So like, I mean, it is a huge thing, and we hope for it to become bigger.
That ties into one of the questions I had is, in this weird world that we live in that's constantly changing, how do you find advertising to be most successful? Because in the old days, you just throw an ad in the paper or you'd advertise on the radio. And now not everybody reads the paper. Not everybody listens to the radio. Do you put it on Facebook? Not everybody does Facebook. How wide a net do you cast, and where do you see the most success?
For us personally, not to put shame on my dad or anything, but I mean, he's a little bit older, obviously. But when I took over both of our Facebook pages, I have gained hundreds to thousands of followers. And that's not posting every second of every day. Absolutely not, because you're going to lose people by that, because that's annoying. And Facebook now has this thing where it's like, do you want to see more from this person? And you could say no if it bothers you. Yeah. So, and I just do it pretty much like once a day at max, or just a couple times a week. I'll post on our Facebook page. But also, I have found that the key thing is posting emojis like at the beginning of whatever you're saying. So like I'll post the popcorn emoji and be like, showing this weekend, like whatever. Or like for the eclipse I just posted earlier. So I put the dark moon and just like a crescent moon. And I was like, okay, so here's what we're doing for the eclipse. Like, it's just finding those certain things that will grab someone's attention to click the see more, to read your whole post, because it's going to get cut off after just a couple lines. Right. And pictures and also like interactive posts are really good as well. And Facebook is definitely my main domain, and we seem to get a lot of hits from that. And then I also, every single time I post, you can buy tickets here. So it makes them check out our website. Right. So you can directly post your website link, and they'll check all that stuff out too.
Do you find that you do the majority of ticket sales online or at the gate?
Definitely at the gate for us. I know a lot do online. We do a good amount, a handful or whatever online, depending on the night. But most of our ticket sales are at the gate.
We found that and like most drive-ins, online ticketing really came in during the COVID contactless period. And for us, online is still the majority of how people buy tickets for us, which is surprising to me, because there's that little extra fee to get it online. It might be because our shows are unique and a destination and people have to plan travel around it. Maybe they're just trying to take care of that to make sure when they roll up that there will be a ticket for them. But it's at the point now where we're always watching those online numbers, and the online numbers are a really good indicator of how a show will do for us. But even then, it might be, if we did 80 at the gate on a night, I would be surprised. It's usually only somewhere around 30 at the gate, and the majority are online. So it's interesting to hear that you're still mostly drive-ups.
It is very interesting because I watch the numbers as well. Do you do card at your box office?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. I don't know. I guess it's just different. I don't know, because I would feel the ones that didn't do card would be the ones doing the majority of ticket sales online.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. This is one of the things we love about these interviews, is just to see how it differs from theater to theater and community to community.
Yeah.
And I will say, we're talking about your snack bar. I watched the video online where you were interviewed. I love the color scheme of the snack bar. I love
Oh, do you?
because of my age and when I was a kid, I love the orange tabletops and the orange seats. It's like the creamsicle color scheme, the alternating orange and white. It's just it takes me back to when I was a kid going to the drive-in, and orange and wood paneling and tones were sort of the go-to style.
Well, you know what's funny is I think I hate the color orange because of the snack bar, because my kitchen at home was orange, and now because my indoor theater is orange. I'm like, this is why I hate orange, everyone, okay?
It's
But it does give that nostalgic feel. Absolutely, it does.
and do you have any items that you would say are your like signature items in the snack bar that are somewhat unique? I was looking at the menu and I was really impressed by what you guys had.
We definitely have probably one of the biggest menus or best menus out of most drive-ins. We try and do as much as we can. So our Philly cheesesteaks are very popular. It's just ground sirloin beef or whatever from GFS. It comes in like a flat shape. So you just chop it up on your grill or whatever, do the peppers and onions, add some cheese. People are crazy about that. They love our pizza. We press our dough, fresh and everything. We make those to order. And our super sampler. So we also have fresh cut fries. So we do the fresh cut fries. It's 2 pieces of big Tyson chicken, 2 mozzarella sticks, 2 mac and cheese bites, and 2 fried pickles. Those are probably like our top things. Also, our chicken strip basket is a large fry, 2 pieces of chicken, and a large drink.
Come on.
Yeah, we have really good food, I'm telling you.
Yeah,
Come
it's
see
dinner
us.
time here. We're so hungry.
I always point out that as we record this, I have not had dinner yet. and
Same, I'm starving.
Boy, does that sound good.
2 samplers, please.
Yeah, right.
You deliver. And what would you say the most popular item is that you have there?
It's got to be it has to be the sampler. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'll be ordering when I come and visit.
Oh yeah, and it's great, for a family, but honestly I could eat it myself, but one to 2 to 3 people, I guess. Yeah, it's great. They all love it. We have our certain regulars that come in and get a sampler every single time, or a pizza, or whatever. It's mostly samplers, pizzas, and chicken strip baskets from our regulars.
What is the staff size that you have at the Skyway there?
We actually only have 10 right now.
And
Nice.
you have a lot of good retention. So for you guys, it's familiar faces, and for customers, they get to know the staff, and it's year after year. That's really great.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I always say, come stop inside, see the friendly faces, like talk to our, your friends or whatever when you're getting your food. Like, yeah, everybody knows everybody. And our one guy that's been with us for forever, he is just so silly and everybody loves him. And like, I swear there is not a single person on earth that could get away with saying the things that he says. And like, when he says them, everybody's just cracking up. He's like, oh, buy a pickle so Paige can go to college. Like, what? He's just that idiot, that everybody loves.
That's fantastic. One of the things I do before we record these is I go on to Google Maps and I do an aerial view to sort of see what kind of region the theater is in. And then I do the street view and I do the digital drive-by. I sort of stalk the drive-in, without being able to be there. And I noticed something very interesting to me is that there is a street that runs parallel to your lot, a little side street, a neighborhood. And it looks like that street and some of those houses have a completely clear view of your screen. I presume that there's some people who live there. The added perk of that real estate is they get a free show every night.
Yeah, they do. And that's totally fine with us. There's a lot of them that will actually come over just to get food and either watch the movie or hang out in their house or whatever.
That is kind of funny.
They'll be like, hey, can I like rent a radio? And we're like, absolutely. So cool. They're like, we just live like right over there. Absolutely. Of course. Like you live here. Like, of course you can. Yeah, no problem with that.
We have a neighbor who comes in, he lives up the street and he loves our snack bar food, and he'll drive in either in his pickup truck or honestly on his riding lawnmower, and he'll come in and he'll buy food at the snack bar and then leave. And I always say that's our best customer, customer, because they buy your biggest profit item, they take their garbage with them, and they still leave the spot free for somebody who's paying to get in. So in that case, you have neighbors who are watching, they're basically attending the drive-in from their home and still buying your food. That's perfect.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, we have some people, they come in, like they bring their own trays because they're getting so much food to take it back home. And, whether they watch the movie or they watch the movie on their, TV, whatever, it's fine. But they like our company. They like our food. They like to see us. And we have a lot of people that come in that are like, oh, I'm just here for food. Like, I'm going to leave right after. And our box office person, lets us know so that we aren't getting, like taken advantage of or whatever. Right. Like, oh, this car, whatever. So they come in and grab food, and then they literally just leave. Like, they just want to come in for food. But we do have a lot of the neighbors where, like, you are always more than welcome. Sit out on your back deck, build a deck. Shit, like, watch the movie.
That's fantastic. That's a compliment, too, to the quality of your food if people are coming just for the food.
Oh, they do. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
So what was your career path at the Skyway? Like how did your father start you out there, and what were the various jobs you had until you were running the place?
Oh boy. So from as young as I can remember, watching my siblings, my coworkers, whatever, everybody that came from, like our laser tag place, I would just watch them, like just watch how they worked. And by the time I was probably maybe 10, I would start serving like hot dogs or something. But like when I was little, I would just lay on the freezer and like go to sleep. Like I was like 5 years old. I'm tired. I would read my Junie B. Jones book to them while they're cutting French fries, but I definitely started out with hot dogs, and I also started out memorizing sauces, but like it wasn't a thing that he told me to do. I just like did that myself, but I knew that I loved it so much. Like the only time I was grounded in my life, I was grounded from going to Skyway. Isn't that crazy? I could watch TV. I could go stay. I had to spend the night at my cousin's house. Oh my gosh, it's the worst thing in the world. I was grounded from going to Skyway. I loved it from the very start.
That's a great story. Yeah.
And all of us who work at a drive-in, it's such a unique place, and such strange and wonderful things occur there. Do you have any like really memorable stories of bizarre or wacky things that may have happened on the drive-in lot in your tenure there?
Oh, bizarre or wacky. Well, before I was there was a couple that ended up passing away because they turned their car on like with the windows up or whatever. So they passed away.
What? That happened on the lot?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
That was for me. Carbon monoxide. Yep.
Christ.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the stories about people who would be snuck in the trunk in the old days.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
I think it's probably an old, urban legend or whatever, but somebody snuck in the trunk, and there was, a leak in the trunk. And when they opened the trunk, the person had left this world. Wow.
I don't doubt it.
That's a story that if you were an unscrupulous and uncaring business person, you could take that you could use that to your advantage at the Halloween.
Heck yeah. Say that to everybody that tries to sneak in. This could kill you.
That's actually one of the articles that we're having. Our employee that grabbed us the article from the library, we're trying to get him to find the one of the couple passing away. That's what
heck yeah.
Do you know when that was? Was that long ago?
I think it was in the 60s.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. But nothing spooky goes on there, so like if they, we're haunting the place or whatever, they want our well-being, like they want us to be good, like nothing weird happens at the indoors. There's definitely some weird stuff at our indoors, but the drive-in's always been cool. Anything crazy? If somebody broke their arm when we had, actually they were a con artist from our laser tag. My dad knew them from laser tag, and she was always like trying to get something free, like whatever, and her son or whatever had fell off the swing, so she ends up calling 911. Like fire trucks are there, and he's like, what's going on? Like she didn't even come inside and say anything, so he's like, what's happening? So the fire trucks are like picking up her son, and he's like, no, like this woman like fake stuff, like this is not for real. And we never got like any type of lawsuit or anything, but honestly, like our customers are just amazing. Like they're so nice and friendly, and we're one of those places, like I don't know what's like in your town. Have you guys heard of the hot dog shop in Warren?
No.
Okay. It's just like one of those like sacred buildings where like anybody, no matter how ghetto or how proper you are, like they will go to bat for you. Like, I feel like we're just becoming one of those places where like untouchable almost, like nobody is gonna mess you around because they want you to be there. And like we make such a great relationship with people like that nobody wants to screw us over.
It's invaluable. Can't pay for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, that is invaluable. Yep.
I have crazy stories from the indoors, but honestly, the drive-in, I really don't.
We love indoor theater stories too.
Oh, okay.
Hit us with the crazy stories.
I don't know. Is this
We have no time limit here.
PG-13? What?
Oh,
what's rated X?
geez. You know, I gotta say, in my day running the indoor, you know, the projection booths are all up high, and you get the perfect vantage point of really seeing anything that's going on in a theater.
Mhm.
I've seen some untaught stuff.
Oh, I have some on video.
Save that for later.
Yeah, right. That's why I'm like, is this PG-13 or what can I say?
What I'll tell you is I'll edit out all the bad stuff and then I won't edit it out.
Okay. Now that I'm thinking about it, at the drive-in, actually, somebody brought a blow-up mattress, and we heard this noise like outside the back door. So, like, our back door goes to the storage room, and that's where Screen 2 projector used to be. And like somebody heard this. Well, the kid that's been with us forever, he's an idiot. He heard this noise, and I was like, Zach, you're bullshitting. Like, you're not hearing this like sound of a power drill or whatever. So I go outside. Sure enough, there's somebody blowing up an air mattress, and I'm like, you could have at least like asked us, but you know, like whatever. So then they go out there. It ends up like raining or whatever. They're the last car on the lot. My dad wasn't there. Like the one guy that was running it, who was my friend from school, he was like, yeah, I had to kick that couple out because they're out there doing it on their blow up air mattress in front of everybody.
Out in the rain, floating away.
Yeah, out in the rain.
So there was a movie from 1976 called Drive-In, and it was about a Texas drive-in. And in the trailer, one of the lines I always remember was, "There's a whole other show in the back row," and that was Skyway that night.
Amazing.
Yeah, Skyway was like known for showing X-rated films. So actually, I just learned this past weekend because our screen, so there's like a highway behind us, behind technically Screen 2 now, but when Screen 2 wasn't there, you could see Screen 1 because the trees weren't grown up yet. Right. So there's a highway behind us. So when they were showing X-rated movies, you know, people on the highway would just be seeing all that. Well, apparently, like the neighbors were complaining. So they complained to the owner at the time. And he basically just said, screw you. So the cops came. They had a warrant for his arrest because he didn't stop showing these X-rated movies, but they didn't have a warrant for the X-rated film. Therefore, his case was dismissed because the police took the film, the literal film copy, but they didn't have a warrant for the film. So his case was dismissed.
Yes.
I didn't want to bring it up, but I found that out before we did this interview.
Isn't that crazy?
How punk rock is that?
Yeah.
The film was Russ Meyer's Up, and it was in 1977. And it what I read was that the sheriffs came out and arrested the owner and seized the film print.
Yeah. Yeah, they seized the film, but they didn't have a warrant for the film. The one time the film studios did something for us.
Wow. That is something out of a movie.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's
Too cool.
It's so funny how many theaters, you know, went that way in the 70s into the early 80s, and the pendulum swung so hard in the other direction, where family films are what keep most drive-ins open now. It's actually unusual to hear that yours does well with R and PG-13 and horror, because so many that we talk to are, they really just, it's the family films because that's where the money is now. And to think this the kind of stuff they were running a couple decades back is not necessarily family films. So, So tell me how it works for you with the indoor theater and the outdoor theater. What do you do at the indoor theater? Are you working both at the same time? And how crazy does your life get in the summertime?
Yes, I do work both at the same time. I just worked the one today. I'll be working it tomorrow. And actually, one time I worked 3 jobs in one day. I worked at the indoor, I did a laser tag party, and then I worked at the drive-in. And then I also went back to the indoor to do the night crew, like cleaning and all that. So it used to be a lot more hectic than it is now. I was up for like 32 hours that night. It was ridiculous. But I will a lot of times go, you know, from working the indoor straight to the drive-in. And we also have to cross employees. So they'll do the same thing. And again, that's where it comes in, where our employees are amazing. They have no complaints. Like, I asked the girl tonight, I was making a schedule. I was like, do you want a couple days on this weekend off? She's like, oh no, put me on. Absolutely not. I'm like, girl, you the best. So it's just, you do what you got to do, basically. And, you know, being a business owner, no matter what you do, I think you do what you got to do. So if I have to be at the drive-in, you know, 24/7, or if I got to run out to the indoor, just like my dad's out there right now fixing projectors, it's just what you have to do. And he would go out there, fix stuff, work during the week, and then go to the drive-in and mow the grass and weed whack and do all this stuff. And that's where I think, again, people don't understand how much work a drive-in is, because you do have to, you know, have the lawn maintenance and make sure things are working properly. And just the movies, that takes hours, and just, you know, get things ready. So there is a lot of crossover in work life and just daily life in general. Spending time with family and stuff, like, yes, you have to make time for that, but you also have to do what you need to do for your business.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people just attend drive-ins might not be aware that we all don't just show up 10 minutes before the gate opens and
Right.
leave as soon as the lights come on at the end.
Right.
Like, a lot of times staff will have been at that theater what for some people would be a full work day before the crowd even shows up.
Yeah.
Right.
And I get very irritated. Like, if I'm coming from one job going to another and somebody's there before me, I'm like, you better turn around, because I need to be the first person here. Like,
oh boy,
I can't stand it.
We have a very devoted following, and we have a guy who drives out regularly, Tom, from Michigan, which is Michigan to Pennsylvania is not a short stroll. And he'll often be the first one in line hours before we open, but he's happy to just sit there with his laptop and watch movies and stuff. And, you know, there's no pressure on any of us, but you do kind of feel that when you roll in, you're like, oh, people are here already. But
I know. Yeah. They do, though. They do. They will sit there for forever. And it's like, are you okay? Do you need gas? Like, did you break down? Like, are you okay? But they do.
Amazing.
Now, we may have touched on some of this already too, but what would you say running the drive-in, running the Skyway, what are like your biggest challenges or headaches that you have? Is it dealing with the studios? And if so, how? Is it getting, for a while, for us, you couldn't get chicken to save your life. Chicken was really hard to find. Like, what are the issues that you have sort of ongoing there?
Oh, let's see. The biggest challenges. So right now, because we opened so early, our lot is still so wet because we're mostly grass, that people are spinning out our opening weekend. Yeah, the second day of opening weekend, my dad had to like tow somebody out, and they weren't upset or anything. But it's just like people getting stuck right now. So like that's a huge thing. And then also, for whatever reason, I am way more paranoid at the drive-in about something going wrong with the projector than I am at the indoor. I think because at the indoor, because it's just so easy to give passes or be like, hey, did you want to swap to this movie? Because, you know, you've got 6 other screens, whatever. But at the drive-in, you're there for those 2 movies. You don't want to see what's on the other screen because they're completely probably unrelated. And so I think that is my like biggest struggle. Also, like doing we do an announcement before every movie, you know, like, thanks for coming and here's what's showing now. We'll take a break for intermission at this time, like whatever. That also stresses me out for some reason, even though I love doing it. I also, at the drive-in, because we have so much food, I'm just such a people pleaser. I get really paranoid, especially being the one cooking, that my food is not going to be up to their standard, or it's not going to be what they want, or they're going to return something, which literally like never happens, but it's like still in the back of your mind. Like, oh my gosh, somebody's going to hate this. Like, but it doesn't happen. But
it's a high bar you set for yourself. Yeah.
It's my anxiety or my people pleasing or whatever. It just stresses me out. But at the same time, the drive-in is so much more fun than anything else. And I always tell our new kids, like, this will be the most fun job you will ever have. So cherish it, like, because it will. Like, there's no question about it. So I always tell them that, and they know that, and they appreciate that. And I don't know, it is the most fun, but it is very stressful at times.
I've said that to our younger staff members. It's a snack bar crew when they first come in. I'm like, this job is going to ruin you for any job you have after this. Between the camaraderie, how much fun it is, how much people are just always so nice to us 99% of the time. And with us, we have so many like celebrity guests and oddball and vending. And well, I mean, you get a taste of that with your Sinister show. It's unlike anything else. And a normal job, frankly, is just boring compared to this.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And even in like the high pace, like where we're frustrated with each other, like I said earlier, like, you know, you're just like, you want to wring somebody's neck, like, shut up, like, stop, get out of my way, like, whatever. Like, you can shove someone out of your way. There's no need for an apology, because I know that we're busy and you didn't like mean that. We're all best friends after, and I love you. Like, that's just how it is. But you will never find somewhere else like that.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. And those trials by fire, we had an event. We had the first annual Joe Bob Briggs Drive-In Jamboree, which was arguably our biggest show ever. And everybody hit their breaking point at some point during that weekend, because it was just a ridiculous number of people. It was all the weather extremes. It was incredibly hot. It was cold. It was hard rain. It was just everything.
Endless hours. God.
I always say, not to disparage any veteran, but I always say that was our Vietnam. Like, if you made it through that, it was a badge of honor, and you're stronger because you made it through that.
Yep.
Yeah. We've all had those.
You got to learn where your bar is, and we found out where it was.
Yep.
Say never again.
Nope. Once was great.
For sure. We have a little initiation process. I don't know if you guys have like a hot dog steamer or anything, but that's our initiation process, trying to get the door back on after it gets cleaned. You got to like take it like diagonally and like get it back into its grooves and stuff. So that's our initiation process. So yeah. So
once you get that, you're
comes in, they're like, initiation. I'm like, okay.
One of us.
Yeah.
So with being a 2-screen drive-in, I love getting into the stuff with film booking and studio rights and rules and terms, because most people who just go to the movies have no idea about any of this.
Oh yeah.
So you have 2 screens. If a film is underperforming, can you bump that to your smaller screen? Or oftentimes do studios have any rules about not being able to switch the screens?
I've never seen an issue with switching screens, no.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking indoor theaters. I've heard that, where the terms are you have to have a film for X number of weeks, and you like can't change it from your biggest to your smallest screen. At least it's nice for you that you have a bit more flexibility with that.
Yeah, no, I've never seen that screen situation. And then with our indoors, they were both second run, so they probably couldn't tell us that even if they wanted to. But with the drive-in, I've never seen them say you have to keep it on your biggest screen. And I mean, our screen 1 is 94 feet and screen 2 is like 76 or something. They're both pretty big. But I've never seen them say you have to keep it on the screen.
That's great. It's just, I know the pain felt by single screen first run, where you book a film and you have to have it for 3 or 4 weeks, and maybe you do real great business for that first week or 2, and then you're stuck with it for 2 more weeks.
Oh yeah, that would suck.
You can kick it to the second slot or whatever, but I always figured
single screen blues.
Yeah.
Somebody called.
Yeah.
I feel like at the indoors though, like people don't really think of that. Like our regulars are the only ones that I've ever heard talk about like, oh man, I wish it was in this house instead of this one or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, all screens are big. Everything's big compared to your TV. Okay. Like I don't give a shit. But,
the number of people I've said online going, I don't go to the movies, I got a 65-inch TV, and I'm always like, oh really? That's as big as the movie screen?
Right.
Look at you, big
You're
guy.
doing amazing, sweetie.
It's not the same. Leave the driving to us.
Exactly.
So everything's
not
better
even
than
remotely the same.
No.
It's so good.
And the last question I had was just a little chance for promo. Do you sell any of your merch online?
I would really like to. Actually, our laser tag guy, he, the last party that I worked, he was telling me about the company that he uses to make shirts. So I am definitely looking into that because I really want to be able to sell stuff online. Yes. So that is my next endeavor before we get our diamond season shirts made.
There are so many fans of drive-ins, myself included, who love, I mean, we hear it all the time. People from states away who may never come out to our theater would love to buy some of our special merch or some of our t-shirts or whatever online because they just like the logo or they like drive, whatever. So I just didn't know if that was an option yet.
Gosh, well, it's so clear that you have the heart, the love, the stamina, the tenacity, everything that you need to be able to carry this weight of running a drive-in into the future. And again, your pops is so lucky to have you. So keep it up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. I really like talking to you. Like that was a great time, but I appreciate all the encouragement and everything. So thank you so much.
Keep at it. This is, if you watch the documentary that was shot on us, you'll see us looking out our bay doors and wondering if we're going to get a single car to be able to stay open, So we've seen the bottom of the bottom and finding ways to stand out and be unique from the competition, quote unquote, or finding your voice in a way, likening it again to a band. It's going to come around. Like, it's clear that you have the love and the push, and everything good comes to those that kind of keep pushing for it,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Before we let you go, we have people listening from all over the place, and Ohio is definitely a road trip away for us. Where would they find you as far as the social medias, as far as the website, just a place they can go and give you some love?
So you can look us up, Skyway Drive-In on Facebook, and then skywaydrivein.com just online. That's pretty much the only two places that you'll see anything about us.
Well, thank you again for joining us. Anybody who is making the trip through, be sure to stop and show some love to the Skyway Twin and all the good that they're doing out there. We love you so much. And on that note, Jeff, take it away, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for coming out tonight to the Mahoning Drive-In Theatre. We hope you'll come back and see us again real soon. The exit is on the right-hand side of the screen at the front of the field, and most importantly, have a very safe trip home. Good night and God bless you.